Am I on? Okay, thank you. This is the Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Jonathan Blake,
Present.
Jim Garrettson, absent. Judy Hagan,
Here.
Jen Christunis. Here. Katie Mueller's here. Josh Orahood,
Present.
John Shapiro,
Present.
Reedy Shukla, absent. Mark Westmeyer.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:06. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first order of business, Madam Vice President.
I would like to make a motion to move item 10A on our agenda up to now.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Go ahead, Mr. Director.
Madam President, members of the board, I recommend that the Park Board consider Resolution G 2025-008. And since this is intended to be a surprise, surprise. A resolution of the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation naming the Susanna H. Dillon Woods in Central Park. And I'll go ahead and read the resolution. Whereas the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation, the Park Board, is a unit of government created and authorized to administer the Carmel Clay Department of Parks and Recreation, the department, pursuant to the certain agreement entitled the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement, signed by the respective authorized officials of Clay Township, Hamilton County, Indiana, and City of Carmel, Indiana, on July 30, 2002, and effective January 1, 2003, as amended from time to time. And whereas the naming policy for parks, facilities, and components approved by the Park Board through Resolution P 2016-002 on September 13, 2016, as amended from time to time, permits facilities to be named in honor of an individual who has made significant contributions to the community. And whereas Susanna H. Dillon founded and organized Citizens for Green Space, a not-for-profit group established in 1988 to support the development of parks and a strong urban forestry program in Carmel and Clay Township. And whereas Mrs. Dillon was appointed in 1991 to the very first Park Board, serving a total of 16 years, 1991 through 1994, and 1999 through 2010, including 7 years as president and 6 years as vice president, helping lead the Carmel Clay Park system during its formative years. And whereas Mrs. Dillon was a charter member of the Carmel Clay Parks Foundation, created in 2010 to support the department, is to date the largest single donor to the foundation, and has served on the foundation board every year since its inception. And whereas few people have had a greater impact on the Carmel Clay Park system than Mrs. Dillon, greatly enhancing the quality of life for the past, present, and future residents of Carmel and Clay Township. And whereas the Park Board wishes to publicly recognize and honor Mrs. Dillon, one of our park mothers, for her tremendous leadership, dedication, and commitment to the Carmel Clay Park system throughout its history. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation hereby names the area of Central Park containing the woods north and south of Central Park Drive East, the Susanna H. Dillon Woods. And with that, I recommend approval of the proposed resolution.
Second.
Well,
You'll move, and
Okay, so I move for it to be approved.
is there a second?
Second.
A second by Jonathan. Is there any discussion? We're ready for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
additionally, I do have a special presentation that I'd like President Hagan to join me with. Sue, if you would come to where the banner is in the middle, we'll make a special presentation. I need to be on microphone so that the recording audience. So this is step one. Because the video wouldn't have been able to hear any of the discussion with us off microphone, we presented Sue a framed commemorative copy of the resolution that was just passed. Additionally, we're going to ask Sue if she's so willing to, in June, as close to your birthday, if not on your birthday, if possible, to join us in a dedication ceremony at the Central Park, now Susanna H. Dillon East Woods, to unveil a sign that will be along the East Drive and to officially dedicate the Susanna H. Dillon Woods. So, awesome. I figured it wouldn't be too hard to twist your arm for that one, but I'll turn the microphone over to Judy because I'm sure she has some comments to say.
Thank you. So, dear friend, this is really well-earned and deserved. And I'm just tickled that the department suggested this, and I wholeheartedly supported it. And interesting that we're here together on the last day. So, wait a minute, I have to stop. Excuse me. So I also want to introduce Sue's son, Matt. And Matt, actually, this will all run on TV recording. So I saw you were recording it, but there'll be another copy. And sitting behind also is someone known to many of you, but not everyone, Audrey Kostrava and her husband, Mike. Audrey was my clerk at the township for my first term and then moved away. But then she came back and was immediately hired by Mark at the park department and is part of the initial staff that got whole Central Park and this whole department off the ground to what it is today. So it's also a pleasure to have Audrey and Mike here tonight. So part of my crew. So can we clap? And with that, you know you don't have to sit through the whole meeting. So if you would like to depart.
Want to make any comments?
Or,
I think
I have a couple of stories to tell about Sue Dillon. Yes, absolutely. I want it on the record. I won't tell any of the bad stories, but just the good ones. Right after I became director in 2003, Sue told me one day, she goes, well, we have a meeting and we're going to talk about Central Park and da-da-da. And I said, what time's it start? And she goes, oh, probably around 7 a.m. I said, okay. And little did I know that it would be 1 a.m. the next day when we left the park office. When she had meetings, this woman had meetings. I mean, it was just one meeting and another meeting and another meeting. It went all day. It went through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I've tried to forget it, but I haven't. So, stories. Now, the East Woods, I think, to me, has special meaning to you. With all the garlic mustard that you attacked out there, I mean, unbelievable what you did to try and eradicate the woods of that. And when we were working on discussing what Central Park would be, there was a day that Greg Calpino, you and I were out there, and Greg and I ended up, you go, well, you need to go look over there. And we had to crawl underneath the bushes. Like there was like an opening just big enough for us to crawl on our hands and knees to get to the other side of what Sue had already scoped out that could be a certain feature within the East Woods. So we had a lot of fun in the East Woods exploring and watching for a number of years, the wildflowers, where they grew up. And at the time that we started to develop the Eastwoods, because we had spent that time in the Eastwoods, Sue, myself, Greg, and so many other people, we knew where to put the trails. So they went around really important trees. A couple died after we went around them. But we also constructed the trails around the wildflowers. And we had wildflowers growing up within inches of the trail without disturbing them. I mean, it was a masterful design and implementation by the construction people. And after we actually built that, and the construction people all came on a day and could not believe what they had learned about nature, about wildflowers, about building parks, all due to you. And my time at Parks is entirely due to you. And it's been just the best experience of my entire life. So thank you so very much, Sue.
Sue, I think if he's telling stories about you, you get to tell stories about him real quick. No? Yeah. Right, microphone's on if you want to say a few words.
I would love to say.
Outstanding. Love it.
Is this mic on? Is it on? Is the light on? Yeah. All right, you're good to go. I've thought about, I didn't know what you were doing tonight, but I've thought, I kind of guessed maybe. And I thought, there's a history that none of you know except Judy. And I'd like to share it with you because Parks, it's, you'd like to think, okay, we have an idea, we're going to do this, and so we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. That's not how Parks came about. It came about actions and reactions and actions and reactions. We built our house here 44 years ago, and Judy at the same time. And our two subdivisions were the only ones west of Meridian Street. And the first year we were in our house, we got 4 certified letters. Something's happening at the Plan Commission. So we'd go, and they would say, and we would go back in a month, and they took a vote. And we finally said, wait a minute, we need to find out what's going on. And there was a proposal for a 6-story office building on the corner of 116th and Spring Mill, and you got involved, and that's when we met. Judy and I. Judy's down there, I'm up there. And we put together the Clay West Information Council newsletter that we mailed, informing all the new people out there, we don't live within the city limits. We don't have a say. They have the say for everything. So you need to be alert to what's going on and be prepared to represent yourself. And we did that. I don't know, how many years did we do that, Judy? Several
That's how we learned to use a computer.
Right. So my husband, his father, Dr. James A. Dillon, practiced medicine in Noblesville for 50 years. 40 of that, he was on the park board. 35 of that, he was president. There's a park named for him. So my husband ran for the township board. We lived outside the city limits. We couldn't serve on any other. And he was the one that introduced the legislation to form the Carmel Clay Parks. Now, something had happened prior to that. This is all history of the parks. What happened, there was a letter, one, and I don't know what year it was, in the newspaper we had, and this woman was writing about her concern that 6 woodlands within Carmel that year had been destroyed for new subdivisions. Her telephone number was there. I called her. I'm having a meeting. I went. There were 6 people, and we all expressed our concern. So we said, well, let's meet in another week. Let's think this over. We did. We doubled. There were, what did I say? We doubled in size. There were 12 of us. So we decided to form a group, Citizens for Green Space Awareness. Isn't that a great monocle? And we organized Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to plant trees. This has connection. So, because it's in the Scout program. Over the next 21 years, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts planted over 5,000 trees in Carmel. And once we got parks, they reforested our parks. And think about this. Carmel Clay Parks were brand new. And where did the support come from? Think about all these kids. If you've got a kid in a Scout, you've got parents. So you've got 3 people at least right there. If a kid plants a tree, you've got the parents' support. 5,000 trees planted by kids. 1 year I counted, the kids planted 300 trees, and there were 1,000 people involved in the planting of our parks. Think of the support. Do you remember any criticisms of our parks in the newspapers? Hell no, because we had nothing but support. But the tree planting was a major factor. Okay, so now we have parks, and my husband and I had been there long enough, and we thought, okay, it's good to retire before they want you to retire, right? And so, but wait a minute, I need to back up. Green space, we got a park department, or a street department in Carmel, right? They're planting trees. We'd planted tons of trees, and we were getting older. Now, Green Space had 125 members. 125 members in an environmental group here in Carmel? Yeah. Well, we're getting older. We're not angry anymore. And we thought, well, it's the same people. We're just going to fade away. No, let's have a picnic and celebrate. And so we did. The next week, I was sitting with Deb in the office talking and saying, oh, Green Space is going away. Something, I don't remember what happened, who came by and whatever. They said, well, you know, if you're an organization, which we were an official organization by the state, you can morph into a different organization by changing your name if it's similar, nonprofit organization. Well, guess where the Parks Foundation came from? It was originally, we morphed into, the Citizens for Green Space morphed into the Park Foundation, which we have today, right? Well, there's a long history of things happening, reactions, actions, reactions, actions. We'd like to think you all have inherited this, and you might think, oh, well, this was all planned. No, it wasn't planned. It just happened, right, Judy? And Judy and I were there. And all of you are here now, so thank you. You're going to carry on, and I know you're going to do a good job.
Now it's okay. You know, we've walked out of meetings before when our part was done, so so don't feel bad. Have we covered it? And I'm not going to say anything else, or I am going to cry. So I'm going to just let you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
If you want some paper, the paper that cover it, we can get that to you as well.
we'll continue with our agenda now. We have a public comments section. We don't have anyone from the public to speak tonight? Okay. Staff reports. Curtis.
Staff reports are included in your packets. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Sure that you've looked through your packets, but there were two nice write-ups, one on the summer camp series receiving American Camp Association reaccreditation, and then again, we talked about this last month, but our department was a recipient of the Outstanding Outstanding Agency Award through the Indiana Park and Recreation Association, which we celebrated in November. So I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but we are planning to do a couple of banner reveals in February, so more information to come at a later date on those celebrations.
I just had a question. Did we get a lot more hits on all the social media stuff because of the micromobility ordinance? It looked like a high number.
Yeah, our marketing team has been extremely busy, kind of trying to educate the community on, where the different devices are and are not allowed, and we're going to continue to do that, leading right up until Christmas and probably after, just to help guide the parents who are trying to buy their kiddos some bikes or scooters, or hopefully not the e-motos, but.
And when do we think signs will actually go up? They're still under discussion and,
So we had a meeting, actually, I guess it was yesterday, between representatives from the city and the CCPR team, just to make sure that we're all interpreting things consistently. I think there's some consensus. So we've designed signs for, especially on the Monon Greenway, which is the number one issue. And I think we're in a position that we'll be able to get those ordered, and as soon as we receive them, you'll start seeing some of the permanent signs go up. So, and definitely, like Curtis said, continued education on social media channels and longer term, long term, as far as maybe some additional video messaging that we can do to help people understand what types of devices are and are not appropriate, as well as, regardless of the device, appropriate use of the greenways, being courteous, letting people know that you're passing, not congregating in groups and passing in groups, and just some of the behaviors that we see that are certainly the reasons for the micromobility ordinance in the first place, and concerns that the public has expressed over the years. So, it ultimately, as we've said before, is it takes people to be courteous of others. It takes enforcement, and certainly the police are trying to, and with the park resource officers at a level that has never occurred to this extent before, and it takes education. So we'll continue to try in all efforts to make it a more enjoyable experience for those that are using the greenways and trails throughout the community.
well, it's blowing up all over Facebook, at least, for all the bicycle groups and groups that are forming now to do the Hamco Loop and whatever, with actually a lot of fun pictures. And actually, most of them actually are on bicycles, the ones that are posting photos, so.
Also, just want to give a shout out to Carmel Clay Schools. Their staff has done a really good job of trying to educate the community on what is and is not allowed in different spaces as well. So we may have shared some of your posts.
Thank you.
Takes a village.
Any other questions for staff reports at this point? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Mark?
Finance Committee did not meet.
Okay, we'll move on to minutes. Katie?
I move to approve the minutes of the Park Board meeting on November 18th, 2025.
Second.
Second by Jen. Any additions or corrections? Actually, we did correct the date or the name already, so you have a clean copy at your seat. So it's all fine. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
When opposed, motion carried. Move on to financial reports. Mark?
I move to accept the consolidated financial report for October 2025 and the Carmel Clay Park and Recreation P&L statements for November 2025.
Second.
Second. Jen, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
When opposed, motion carried. claims.
I move to approve the claim sheet dated December 9th, 2025, and the Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation payroll for November 14th, 2025, and for November 28th, 2025.
Second.
Did you have 3 dates? I'm sorry. The 14th and the 28th, right? Yeah. Okay. Is there a second? Jen? Is that you? Okay, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to monetary gifts, grants, partnerships, and sponsorships. Eric?
Thank you. For November, we had one contribution, $100 from our anonymous donor toward staff appreciation. But I also wanted to mention something that won't be on this report because it's not a monetary contribution, is we did receive a grant through the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. It was the Community and Urban Forestry Assistance Grant. And we had received this once before that we implemented in Founders Park, which included providing us with trees, fruit and nut trees for urban actual forestry and foraging. So we reapplied for that grant to implement in Central Park. So we received an award for that grant this last month, and they will be providing us with roughly about $10,000 worth of native fruit and nut trees to plant around Central Park. And most of that is going to go around the Westermeyer Commons area of Central Park. So happy to answer any questions.
Oh, great. Is that something we can apply for regularly, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty open grant, so I think they accept them annually. But yeah, so they provide us with, like I said, the actual trees for us, so then they assess a value to each of those trees that we request. And so working with Michael Allen and his team, identified a number of different varieties of things with the goal of, again, putting those out to then, once they are fruit bearing, then we can establish some educational classes, materials and stuff to have people actually be able to go out and forage responsibly with those trees in our parks. But yes, it's something that we can apply for regularly. It's just a matter of having the space and everything to put those, where to put them, so.
Okay, great. But that we don't have to accept. We just.
Yeah, you don't have to
Okay.
accept that one. I just want to mention it within this, that at least, so that you guys know.
Okay. Jen?
I move to accept the money from our anonymous donor and, of course, thank that person.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jonathan, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. New business, we will move to 10B. Michael?
Thank you, Madam President. This item that we're requesting your consideration on is the third amendment to the Phase 2 agreement with SJCA for the White River Greenway North Extension in the amount of $24,200. SJCA is the engineer and design team of record for the White River Greenway North Extension, which is extending the trail up to 146th Street. This particular contract extension is for supplemental design work and construction services. This project obviously has taken a little bit longer than what we originally anticipated, largely because of we're working sort of part and partial with Conner Prairie because they're in the process of preparing for the development of their site. And we're trying to do things in a responsible manner so that as we put the trail in, we're also taking into consideration the infrastructure that they're putting in the upfront where their roadways are crossing over the trail. So it minimizes future disruptions as they're doing their work. So, it's taking a little bit more time on the front end and a little bit more design work on the front end, but the impact is that it will have less challenges on the back end. Doesn't mean that it won't have periodic closures, but we won't be like constructing a road over the trails because that portion of the road will already be in place. So After reviewing that, having the owner's representative, CTI Construction, also first review it, we both recommend approval of this amendment. I truly believe this is the very last one because we are very close to the finish line. We were hopeful that we'd be able to have the trail fully open by the end of this year. Weather got a little bit tight, as well as some of the coordination. So the reality is it's probably going to be spring, but you know, it's also not the most fun time to be on the trail in this particular section. So it'll be worth the wait. Happy to address any questions the board has.
Any questions for Michael? I'd entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move the Park Board approve the third amendment to the Phase 2 agreement with SJCA for the White River Greenway North Extension as presented, and I further move that to authorize the Director of Parks and Recreation to execute the amendment as prepared by the board's legal counsel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda originated with me, and just by way of a little background, it seemed to me after spending a couple of years back on the board that we needed to maybe update our protocols for the director and CEO compensation. And so that is what this particular resolution addresses, so that going forward, that responsibility will be the entire executive committee. So it'd be president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, instead of just forming an ad hoc committee, you know, sort of toward the end of the year and get a little bit more formal process. So are there any questions?
Sorry,
ahead, Jen.
I do.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to make sure the resolution is, we're just amending what we already had in place from last year to specifically state who makes up the committee, correct?
That is correct. There's actually a red line version in your Park Board packet as well, so that you can see just the changes that were made from last year's resolution that we passed in November to this version, which is an amendment. You're correct, Jen.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because we do have folks that were on the board last year, from last year to this year, that's the only change that we're making is who actually makes up the committee. Is that instead of it's a random committee?
That's correct.
It's simply the executive committee is who makes this decision.
Yeah, so the version that we passed, or the Park Board passed last November, allowed the president to basically put together an ad hoc committee that would basically review the salary compensation information provided by CCPR staff. This basically just clarifies it and establishes that the executive committee will be the committee responsible for reviewing the information on an annual basis.
And the reason that we do this is because and again, Judy or Michael Curtis, correct me if I'm wrong, is because the only employee of the park board is the CEO/director. And it is our responsibility as a park board to hold a review slash annual compensation meeting, so to speak, with the director, CEO annually. And so it's our responsibility as a board to have this as our, as an associate, right? Like you're our employee associate. And so it's our responsibility to have this as our employee, right? So we are just putting this in place so that going forward, it specifically states who can be part of this so that there's no gray.
I think you nailed it. The sole employee of the park board is the park director/CEO. The rest of the staff report to the park director/CEO. These guidelines were not, we basically didn't have guidelines prior to November of last year. A lot of times the compensation discussion derived from a conversation between whoever was in my role and the park board president at the time. So this just establishes some protocols that I think a little bit more clear on kind of what you're evaluating the director on an annual basis.
And then also with this is the annual review. So it's also shared with our associate through the president, his performance, and his performance is based on the goals of the park board and and how well he has led the team to the master plan. Is that
That's absolutely
fair?
correct.
Yeah.
The resolution basically establishes that when the committee meets with the staff, there will be a conversation based on how well the director has accomplished the goals of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And that helps determine the percentage pay increase, if any, they're eligible for.
Okay. I just want to make sure that it's, again, we have new folks on the board, and probably I'm hoping new folks listening in on the recording. You never know what meeting we have people listening to, that this is why we're doing this.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah. So, sorry.
No, that's a great explanation. So any other questions?
Just a
Go ahead,
clarification
John.
question?
Yes. Go
So
ahead, John.
if this is a revision, the date on the certification still lists 2024. I'm assuming that also needs to be updated to reflect it's being updated to 2025, correct? Even on the red line copy?
The red line copy,
Both copies
you know,
have last year's date.
Good catch.
that's a
John.
good catch. And yes, that does need to be changed before the park board signs the
Signs
resolution.
it, okay.
So,
Good catch, thank you.
no problem.
I caught the minutes, you caught that.
John, you earned your pay this meeting. Yes.
Not why we do this, but I just want to make sure if we're going to sign an update to a policy, that it's got the correct dates.
Got the correct.
No,
date
I
on it.
totally overlooked that, so I do appreciate you pointing
No,
that
no
out.
worries. Just wanted to make sure.
Yes, so then, let's see. Do I want to entertain an amendment?
So then do I need-
Corrections?
To move to approve the resolution with an amended date? Curtis?
I think that's fair. I think that at least,
Okay. So I move to approve Resolution P-2025-004 with an amended date of today? Upon certification? On certification.
Second.
Do we also want to include a line about the updated interlocal, or are we not? In the first
in
paragraph?
the memo,
Just in the first paragraph of the resolution itself.
Well, the resolution.
no, the
says-
resolution's outlining the protocols that the park board, in basically the review process. The memo that will be sent by the park board president to staff to earmark the accomplishments of the director in the last calendar year can definitely include that information, or will include that information.
All right, that's all. I just, moving forward, we'll have the updated interlocal date. Okay. All right, so Jonathan?
Nope.
John, you seconded? Thank you. Any further catches? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jen.
one thing. So Curtis, Judy's referring to the effective interlocal date in the first paragraph on the amendment, that it was July 30, 2022, and effective January 1st, 2023. She's asking, should it, because we have a new one?
No, so this actually stays the same because that document adopted in 2002 is still the underlying document.
Document,
There's just 4 amendments to it. So
Okay.
the reference as amended from time to time covers the fact
Covers
that.
it. Okay.
I apologize.
Great.
Thank you. I completely misunderstood that.
Yeah, and I wasn't clear either about my question. Okay, thank you. Any other? Thank you, everyone, for being thorough. You know, it does take a village. It really does take a village, being able to read it all. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. All right, now on, there's no old business tonight. Attorney's report.
Just 2 items for you tonight, 2 things we've been working on. One was the Fourth Amendment to the interlocal agreement, And the other is the Bear Creek RFP, held a Zoom meeting on that, and I believe a committee is meeting tomorrow to move forward. So that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, so the paperwork for that is done?
Yeah.
You're reviewing, okay, and then, okay. All right, director's report. Michael?
As Zach indicated, the most exciting report is the adoption of the Fourth Amendment to the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement. So that agreement in November was signed or approved by both the Township Board and the City Council, and also signed off by the executives of both units of government, the Township Trustee and the Carmel Mayor. So that is now official and in place, and legal counsel is working to have it duly filed with the county so that everything is, all the Ts are crossed and Is dotted. So very excited about that. What's important about that is it ensures that our organizational structure remains as it has, as a joint department between the city and the township, funding partners with both of them, and the organizational structure of the park board and the autonomy of the department, ensuring that you have a single department focused on parks and recreation to hopefully continue to achieve the great successes that we have continues. So very thrilled with that. I know that was kind of my number one priority when I was fortunate to succeed Mark as director. I know it's something that park boards, past and present, as well as Mark and myself have worked to achieve. So very thrilled on that. It's a forever race because, state General Assembly is constantly changing the rules. So, there's been some discussion about potential proposals to eliminate township government. Now, that's been proposed numerous times in the past, including under governors as popular as Mitch Daniels. So, that's something that we continue to monitor and advocate for the continuance of especially Clay Township. And, the interlocal is also established that it's purposely designed so that both the city council and the township board can hold each other accountable, because with effectively a year's notice, they can terminate the agreement. It takes the legislative bodies to be able to do so, but that way, if one side or the other isn't holding its fair share towards the contributions to the park system, there is a way to hold the other body accountable. So we have to make sure that we're continually working with both the city and the township so that they, and the elected officials especially, to recognize the importance of parks and recreation to the quality of the life of the community. So that remains a forever challenge for us or forever opportunity, quite frankly, to state our case, to ensure that we continue under the court organizational structure. But I'm super thrilled that we have the opportunity to continue to state that case. So that was the biggest thing. I also continue to work with our lobbyist. Today I had an opportunity to meet with Representative Craig Snow, who is the vice chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, to pitch the idea of dedicated funding for parks and recreation for capital projects that isn't necessarily tied to a bond, which is currently the most viable mechanism that's available to the township and to park systems around the country. We know that many members of the General Assembly, including within leadership, have aversions to debt. And I pointed out that the current mechanisms under Indiana General Park Law, as well as Township General Park Law, is basically incentivizing debt, because the only way we can tap into the special benefits tax for parks is if we issue debt to get it outside the maximum levy. So I identified the cumulative building fund that's for parks as a potential option. It has its own rate, but currently under state statute, it falls within the maximum levy of the taxing unit. And what I pitched is considering taking that outside the maximum levy. And there are precedents for doing so. townships and fire territories can have a cumulative building fund for fire that's outside the levy. Counties can have it for bridges and for capital development. And park authorities also have it for their cumulative building fund. So there are examples, and what was encouraging is he saw how that could be a potential tool for one of his communities within his district to be able to, or at least one of his communities within his district to be able to use. So, certainly not a guarantee that it's going to go anywhere, but it's always positive. There wasn't like a lot of where there was a zero counter, like, well, we've got this, we've got that, or it was more of a true listening and at least some acknowledgement that it could be a tool in the toolbox for local community elected officials to use to fund parks. So we'll continue those conversations. It is the short session for the General Assembly, so they should be probably, what I'm hearing is in February is when they will adjourn. So we have a shorter window to advocate for this, but we'll talk to as many legislators, including our local delegation, to advocate for consideration of this, and we'll keep trying until we are successful. So in some type of mechanism. As Curtis mentioned, in February, we will have the ceremonies to formally recognize and celebrate our recent accomplishments with American Camp Association accreditation and the IPRA Outstanding Agency Awards. One will be amending an existing banner to extend our accreditation for the camps, and the other one will be a new banner up in the Monon Community Center. So we're excited to celebrate that with our staff and the community. This past weekend, we had our Hive Awards, which is our annual employee recognition event. All employees are invited to attend, and I think we had over 100 participants this year, so we're super excited about that. And we also extend its 5 awards, or 5 categories, one recognizing each of our values, as well as a Poly Above and Beyond Award, which is sort of our highest honor for our staff, and we give for each of those 5 awards, both a full-time category and a part-time category. Employees nominate their peers for those. It's evaluated through our culture community, and we announce them, the winners, at the event. So was honored to be able to participate in that award ceremony, as well as celebration of our employees, and always one of my favorite things to do. This is the 3rd year now that we've had that event, and just really celebrate. It is a team effort. As we talked about, it takes a village, and it certainly takes our team members at Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation, from those that are our lifeguards and front desk staff that are part-time, to everyone else within the organization to make the magic happen. So always fun to celebrate those accomplishments. Probably the biggest items now. Happy to address any questions the park board may have.
Questions for Michael? It's been a great year.
One final comment too. This is Judy's final meeting before she retires again. And just as it has been a tremendous honor to work under Sue, it has been an equal honor to work under Judy, another one of our park mothers, and someone from whom I have learned so much, and for whom I have so much appreciation for everything she's done for Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation, and for all citizens in Clay Township, in a role on the park board as trustee as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Those are kind words. Okay, well, we'll move on now. Any other questions for Michael? Okay, we'll move on to information items. Plan Commission, Jonathan?
Nothing really new to report from our last meeting, or between our last meeting now. We're reviewing a housing project, which I think I actually updated on our last meeting, but housing project on Illinois Street, just north of 111th. So continuing to review that, but nothing else at this
Okay.
moment.
School board, John?
Nothing new to report at this time.
That's always sort of a relief, right?
What's that?
That's always sort of a relief,
That
right?
is always a relief, yes.
Thank you. Climate Action Advisory Committee, Eric?
Thank you. We have a meeting, not again until January, but last week I did have a meeting with the mayor's chief of staff, Nick Weber. So as the committee chair, I had a meeting with him. So that's the first real meeting that we've had with the executive leadership and stuff. So starting to have that conversation of how that branch kind of wants this committee to continue moving forward and kind of getting some direction from them a little bit. So so happy that that kind of conversation has started and opened that up. So kind of continue from there. But this grant also that I mentioned that fulfills one of those the climate action standards that we're trying to meet too. So so we're helping that out.
Great. Any questions for Eric? Okay, we'll move along to Parks Foundation. As announced last meeting, the Park Foundation Board is meeting for its annual meeting next week, December 17th. So I think we will have some new officers and maybe some new faces and some retirees too. So we'll report back, someone will report back in January. So moving on to Park Board comments, discussion. Questions from anyone? So I just want to say thank you very much for welcoming me back for a couple of years. It has really been quite an experience and a happy thing for me to see all the progress over the years and then come back and be a little part of it for a couple of years here. So, but what I mostly want to say is I am really excited about the next generation. You guys are doing great. You've got big shoes to fill, as you saw tonight. So maybe some of you in 40 years will be back receiving an award, let us hope, or your successors. And so it's in your hands going forward. You've got experience on the board. You've got newbies on the board. That's an excellent mix. Keep your eyes and ears out for potential folks too in the years ahead, people that we know might be interested. So thank you very much for allowing me to preside and putting up with my stories, and I won't tell any. There's 40 years worth. Luckily, Sue kept it short and focused there, so there are a lot of stories. With that, any other questions? Then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Jonathan, we are adjourned.